10 years ago, an inverted castle tore through the sky above Tokyo and hung there like a wound that refused to heal. Dungeons followed, rifts spitting monsters into the streets of Japan, and with them came mana. People awakened to it in colors that marked their gifts: fire, ice, wind, shadow. Most got one, a rare few claimed two, and then there was Karasuki Kai, blue and red mana twisted together in his hands like living lightning and blood. They called him the Purple King, a title no one else had ever touched, and he wore it like armor. Level 89 now, he moved through dungeons the way a blade moves through silk. A hulking beast, triple-horned, eyes like molten slag, lunged from the shadows with a roar that shook stone. Kai didn't even shift his stance. He raised one hand. A spear of condensed mana, black-edged and screaming, materialized and punched clean through the monster's skull before it could close the distance. The body hit the ground in two twitching pieces. Kai flicked mana residue from his fingers, bent, and pried the core stone free. Without looking, he tossed it over his shoulder. "Gather the rest, brother." Kirasaki Rei caught the stone reflexively. Older by 2 years, yet forever the smaller shadow. Level 1, colorless. No glow, no surge, no nothing. 10 years of tests, rituals, prayers, nothing. Kai kept him around because someone had to carry the loot, and pity was cheaper than hiring a real porter. Ray said nothing. He never did anymore. He just knelt and began collecting the scattered fragments, the familiar burn of humiliation settling in his chest like an old friend. They pressed deeper. Routine. Easy floor. The boss door groaned open on rusted hinges, revealing a hall swallowed in shadow. At the far end stood a man, or what looked like one. Tall, silver-haired, eyes the color of dead clocks. He watched them enter with the mild disinterest of someone waiting for traffic to clear. Kai smirked. Another gate guardian playing God? He snapped his fingers. 6 demonic lances formed in a perfect arc and hurtled forward. The figure, Kronos, though no one knew the name yet, tilted his head. A single blade of fractured space unfolded from his palm and swept once. The spears vanished mid-flight, sliced into motes of harmless light. Kai's smirk froze. Before he could summon more, Kronos crossed the distance in a single step. His hand closed around Kai's throat, not choking, just holding. Then he drove the dimensional blade upward, through the jaw, and out the top of the skull. The Purple King's body dropped like a cut puppet. Purple mana flickering out in weak sparks. Ray's world narrowed to the wet sound of the blade withdrawing. The rest of the party screamed, scattered, died in seconds. Limbs parted, chests caved, blood painting the stone. Ray sank to his knees among the cooling corpses, staring at his brother's ruined face. Kronos turned, gaze settling on the only one left breathing. "You," he said, voice like distant thunder over still water. "No color at all." "Confirm." Ray's hands shook as he pushed to his feet. Legs felt like they belonged to someone else. "I have nothing," he rasped. "Never have. But I'm not dying on my knees." He lifted the blood-slick sword one of the dead had dropped, Kai's spare, and pointed it at the god. Kronos' lips curved, the first real expression, amused. Black spheres materialized around Ray, humming with annihilation. They closed in, pain, white-hot, total. Flesh tore, bones cracked, darkness swallowed him, then nothing. A soft word, apology. Time snapped backward. Ray stood unharmed, lungs full of air that tasted like ash. The corpses were gone, the hall pristine. Kronos watched him, curious now. Another ring, this time hellfire, caged Ray in a perfect circle. Skin blistered instantly. He gritted his teeth, grabbed the dimensional blade from where it lay. Impossibly it was there again, and charged. Flames ate at his arms, his legs, his face, skin sloughed away in sheets. He screamed until his throat shredded, but he didn't stop. One last lunge. The blade sank to the hilt in Kronos' chest. The god blinked, then smiled, genuine, almost fond. Well, time rewound again. Ray collapsed, spent, the sword clattered away. He stared at the floor, waiting for the end he knew was coming. A window shimmered into existence before his eyes. Simple, black-bordered, letters burning white. Hidden attribute released. Skill drain, rank unknown. Even Kronos frowned, confused. Ray didn't think. He reached out with whatever instinct had survived the burning and pulled. The rewind power tore free like a thread snapping. Kronos' eyes widened. He raised a hand to stop it, but too late. Time didn't gently reverse, it shattered backward in a violent rush. Years peeled away. Ray woke gasping in a narrow apartment bed. Younger, smaller, heart-hammering. He stumbled to the window. Outside, the inverted castle glowed stark white against the dawn sky, something it hadn't done in 7 years. Phone screen. Date confirmed. He opened his status. Skill drain still listed. The stolen rewind, gone. A faint voice echoed once in his skull, already fading, "You were never strong enough before." That's why it waited. The memory slipped away like smoke. Ray exhaled, slow and steady. 10 years of nothing. 10 years of being less than dirt. Now he had something. That same morning he walked into the Mage Association headquarters in Kyoto Ward. The building smelled of fresh paint and new concrete. 7 years untouched. Kai's old subordinates spotted him immediately. Same sneers, same hands reaching to shove. Ray met the first one's wrist mid-air, twisted just enough to make the man hiss, then stepped past without a word. The group fell silent behind him. Hinata-ryan, B-rank proctor, recognized him at the registration desk. Her eyes narrowed. "You again? You know what happens to colorless applicants. This isn't a game." Ray looked her in the eye, calm, no tremble. "This time?" he said quietly. "It's different." She studied him a moment longer, then nodded once. "Fine, follow me. The exam starts now." Ray already knows exactly how this exam is supposed to go. The task is simple on paper. Collect 3 mana stones from goblins, a job so basic that anyone with even a starter skill usually clears it without breaking a sweat. But Ray remembers this day all too well, because this is when things went wrong last time, and history is about to try repeating itself. Just like before, an irregular monster appears far earlier than it ever should. A redcap crashes the exam, a level 37 threat inside a dungeon meant for level 1 candidates. Hinata immediately panics because something like this should not exist here at all, and she orders Ray to run while there's still time. The power gap is massive, and she knows she can't beat it herself. In the original timeline, Hinata fought anyway to protect Ray and paid for it dearly, suffering injuries so severe they forced her into retirement. Ray remembers that future clearly, and he refuses to let it happen again. This time he stands his ground. 10 years of being weak ends right here. Exam day 47, still failing, but this time with god-tier spite. The red cap charges, and Ray throws his weapon forward, not to attack, but to create an opening. He remembers exactly how these monsters work. Redcaps enhance their bodies with a passive skill, making normal attacks useless. So instead of swinging steel, Ray steps in barehanded and punches the monster straight in the face, fully knowing the hit won't hurt it. As expected, the punch only enrages the redcap as it moves in for the kill. But Ray never intended to damage it. The system flashes, and skill drain activates. In an instant, Ray steals the redcap's body enhancement skill, and his stats spike violently upward. Skill drain? More like steal everything and run cheat code. With his power boosted, Ray picks up his sword and delivers a single clean vertical slash. One swing is all it takes. The red cap drops, split apart, and the dungeon goes silent. Hinata can only stare in disbelief as the weakest candidate she's ever seen just erased a level 37 monster like it was trash mob cleanup. Ray keeps his expression calm, but inside he knows this ability is completely broken. Hinata immediately starts questioning him, and Ray panics. A black skill is not something he can casually explain, so he shrugs it off as coincidence, claiming he just got lucky. Hinata clearly doesn't buy it, cancels the exam due to the irregular incident, and reports everything to headquarters. Even so, Ray isn't done yet. He already has 1 mana stone, and he still needs 2 more to pass. Before Hinata can argue further, 2 goblins ambush them from the shadows. Ray reacts instantly, cutting both down in a single swing. Strangely enough, that clean execution impresses Hinata even more than the redcap kill, because it proves the first victory wasn't a fluke. With 3 mana stones collected, Ray officially meets the exam requirements. Cut to the association entrance where Hinata hands him his mage license. Ray stares at the card, letting the moment sink in. After 10 years of being treated like human garbage, after endless failures and mockery, he finally made it. System notification energy, congrats, you're no longer human garbage. Hinata also explains the value of monster drops, which can be sold as high-grade power sources. Because Ray defeated an A-rank level threat, his payout is absurd, totaling nearly 3 million. Ray is stunned by how well mages actually live, and even Hinata can't help cheering him on a little. Ray asks for one final favor, and heads toward a dungeon gate, stopping to admire his name and rank displayed clearly. For the first time, he's allowed to enter a dungeon solo. For the first time, his future feels changeable. That's when a mana hand suddenly clamps down on him, crushing his shoulder mid-step. Kai's minions appear, laughing as they accuse him of breaking rules and lying about passing the exam. Ray tells them the truth, but they refuse to believe it. One of them grabs his head and demands proof of talent. The mana hand tightens, made of compressed mana that even Ray's enhanced strength can't pry off. But his legs are free. Ray lunges forward and headbutts the guy square in the face, drawing blood. That single contact is enough. Skill drain activates, and Ray steals the mana hand technique instantly. He slips free and fires the same skill back, restraining his attacker and leaving both minions stunned. The second minion panics and launches a basic fireball. Ray activates extreme body enhancement, swats the attack aside, and drives a punch so hard it sends the guy flying into the wall. The two realize too late that Ray isn't just awakened, he has multiple skills. They assume he's a dual color user, but Ray corrects them. Colorless? Nah, stealth mode activated. Ray forms a fireball using the skill he just stole and casually tells them he has a third color on top of everything else. they freeze. Third mana color isn't just rare, it's unheard of. Rei tosses the fireball past them as a warning, releases the bind and asks if they still want to fight. They take one look at him and run. Rei knows this won't stay quiet for long. If Kai hears about this, he'll come hunting, just like before, trying to drag Rei back into obedience. And Kai is already level 50, still one of the strongest mages around. On top of that, a catastrophic dungeon is about to unlock. Rei doesn't have time. He dives into a dungeon solo to level up fast, because both skill usage and mana capacity scale with level. Not long after entering, a flame wizard appears, level 38. Rei barely has enough mana to form a single fireball, while the monster can cast several at once. That's the raw difference in levels. The flame wizard launches multiple fireballs. Rei fires his own to intercept, canceling only one before dodging the rest. A direct clash won't work, but Rei notices the opening, a brief delay after skill usage. He closes the distance immediately. On first contact, skill drain activates again. Rei steals the flame wizard's fireball skill, its only method of attack. The monster tries to cast again, raising its weapon, but nothing happens. Rei fires the stolen spell point blank and burns the monster to ash. The victory jumps Rei 4 levels instantly, from level 8 to 12. Stronger monsters mean faster growth, and with skill drain in play, even high-level enemies become walking donation boxes. Oops, god privileges revoked, skill acquired, thanks for the donation. Rei sets a clear goal, reach level 30 before leaving the dungeon. He continues grinding, taking down another flame wizard, a red cap, and a lizard warrior. Eventually, he reaches level 27, but progress slows. To break through, he needs a real fight. Rei heads deeper into the dungeon and opens the boss chamber door. Inside the empty arena, a warrior steps out from the shadows, and the real test begins. Waiting inside the boss chamber is a skull demon commanding several high-level imps, instantly turning the fight into a numbers problem Rei cannot afford to brute force. Charging multiple enemies head-on would get him deleted, but with skill drain in play, even bad matchups can be flipped if he plays it smart and strips the right tools away. Rei activates body enhancement and rushes the skull demon with a heavy punch, aiming to steal its skills immediately, but the attack stops dead on impact. A thick mana barrier blocks him completely, and Rei realizes the problem instantly. That shield doesn't just stop damage, it blocks skill drain too, making this boss a nightmare if he can't break it. The skull demon roars and counters with terrifying speed, swinging close enough to nearly take Rei's head off. One bad step and this fight ends instantly. Seeing the situation clearly, Rei switches tactics. If he can't drain the boss directly, he'll starve it of support first and build momentum the hard way. Rei dashes toward a flying imp, smacking it out of the air and triggering skill drain on contact. The system flashes, and he acquires Ice Needle. He immediately cleans up the remaining imps using a mix of Fireball and Ice Needle, clearing the battlefield and forcing the Skull Demon to fight alone. That's exactly what Rei wants. The Skull Demon responds by resummoning an imp using magic, but instead of panicking, Rei smiles. He cuts the new imp down instantly, hits level 28, and the system unlocks skill synthesis. 10 years of L's, one button press, and suddenly he's speedrunning main character progression. The Skull Demon grows furious and charges, but Rei calmly activates skill synthesis, combining Ice Needle and Fireball mid-cast. The two skills fuse into a brand new ability, Fire Lance, a condensed high-output spell built specifically to punch through defenses that shouldn't break. Rei launches himself into the air and dives straight at the Skull Demon. Just like before, the demon throws up its mana barrier, confident it will hold. Rei doesn't slow down. Fire Lance slams into the shield, overloads it, and shatters the barrier completely. Oops, boss privileges revoked, defense skill donated. With the barrier gone, everything collapses fast. Rei steals the Skull Demon's body enhancement skill, crippling its stats, boosts himself again, and fires a second Fire Lance straight through the demon's chest. Red flames erupt as the boss disintegrates, dropping a green mana stone and handing Rei another massive experience boost. In one fight, Rei jumps 4 more levels, landing at level 33 and finally stopping to breathe. Skill synthesis lets separate abilities merge into something far stronger, and unlocking it before level 30 is borderline unheard of. Rei wasn't sure he could pull it off, but the results speak for themselves. The system isn't done yet. Skill drain upgrades, expanding its storage from 3 skills to 5. Steal more, store more, break the game harder. Skill drain? Still very much steal everything and run energy. Back at Mage Association headquarters, Rei turns in the Skull Demon's Mana Stone. Hinata is visibly stunned. Soloing a high-level boss and jumping to level 33 in a single day isn't luck, and she calls him out on the excuse immediately. Nobody farms like that without being cracked. Still, she delivers the good news. Rei is promoted straight to B rank with no conditions attached. Before the moment can settle, a familiar and deeply unwanted voice cuts in. Kai, the Purple King himself, steps forward and openly refuses to believe his colorless failure of a brother could ever reach B rank. Hinata nervously backs Rei up, confirming he defeated both the Red Cap and the Skull Demon solo. Kai turns his full attention to Rei and throws an enhanced punch without warning. The impact shakes the room, drawing every eye, but the strike never reaches Rei, stopped cold by his defense. Rei calmly calls Kai out, warning him that attacking inside headquarters is reckless. That's when Kai accepts the truth. Rei has awakened. Rei confirms it himself, and Kai immediately downplays it, claiming one skill changes nothing. Then he announces a fight on the spot to test Rei's worth. Hinata tries to intervene, but Kai insists. If Rei is truly B rank, this should be easy. He accuses Rei of cheating his way up, deliberately poking old wounds. The trash talk works. Rei agrees to the duel, knowing backing down now would only make things worse later. They move to the Mage Association arena. Rei centers himself, fully aware of the gap. He's level 33. Kai is level 50. Kai can run 5 skills comfortably, while Rei has to ration mana carefully. In a straight brawl, Kai holds every advantage, and both of them know it. The fight explodes into motion immediately. Rei charges Ice Needle while Kai spins up 4 fireballs. The attacks collide mid-air, detonating violently. Kai is visibly surprised that a single Ice Needle could neutralize multiple fireballs, and the momentary shock gives Rei an opening. Rei rushes in with body enhancement active, forcing Kai to recognize that Rei is at least a dual wielder. Rei presses harder, knowing Kai must be running low on immediate mana. Then Rei activates skill synthesis again, combining red and blue mana, revealing he can use 3 colors. Kai doesn't panic. He smiles. At the last second, he fires a single fireball that completely overwhelms Rei's synthesized attack and blasts him backward. The message is clear. Elements don't matter when raw output wins. Kai launches more fireballs, forcing Rei to retreat and create distance. Rei fires another fire lance, but Kai erases it with a casual fireball that keeps going. Rei throws up a mana barrier, but even that cracks under the hit, sending him flying across the arena. At this point, Kai is dominating without even trying. Confident in his victory, he offers Rei forgiveness if he kneels and admits he was wrong. For a moment, surrender feels tempting. Rei can't change his skills mid-fight. He can't magically expand his mana pool. Then he remembers the future. 10 years as his brother's tool. 10 years of obedience and humiliation. That memory snaps him back instantly. Rei refuses to kneel, shouting it clearly for everyone to hear. That refusal pushes Kai over the edge. Enraged, he decides to end the fight outright and activates Overclock, massively increasing his fireball output at the cost of rapid mana depletion. The real battle has finally begun. With Overclock active, Kai finally shows why he's called a king-level mage. 10 fireballs materialize around him at once, burning so hot the air itself warps, and Rei instantly understands the gap. This overwhelming output is what made Kai feared among the kings. The ability to dump absurd amounts of mana in a single moment and erase opponents before they can react. Even so, Rei doesn't panic. He says he's been waiting for this exact move. Because Overclock has a weakness. It demands massive output, and massive output means cooldown. Rei sprints straight at Kai, forcing him to commit. Kai laughs, calls him an idiot, and fires the entire barrage while Rei is airborne. Confident that midair means 0 escape options. That's when Rei reveals another card he's been hiding. He slams Mana Hand into the ground, anchoring it instantly. Kai freezes, shocked that Rei has yet another skill tucked away. Rei yanks himself downward and behind Kai, proving it doesn't matter if it's 10 fireballs or 20 if none of them land. Overclock ends, cooldown hits, and for a split second, even a king is helpless. Rei takes that moment and cracks Kai across the face, driving him into the arena floor hard enough to crater it. At the same time, Skill Drain activates again, and Rei steals Overclock for himself. Oops, King privileges revoked. Skill acquired. Thanks for the donation. For the first time, Kai realizes he might actually lose. Kai gets back up furious, wrapping his purple mana around an icicle and revealing his strongest technique, Demonic Lance. Rei stiffens. This is the signature skill of the Purple King, and he didn't expect Kai to have it this early. The lance fires with terrifying speed, barely missing Rei's head, and Kai spawns more without hesitation. Rei dodges by inches as lance after lance chases him across the arena. That earlier hit only landed because Kai underestimated him. Now that Kai is serious, Rei can feel it clearly. Kai is still stronger. Rei's back hits the wall, his mana is thinning, and Kai has more than enough left to finish this. Desperate, Rei fires a fire lance, and Kai answers with another demonic lance. The two attacks collide in a violent explosion that slams Rei into the wall and leaves a massive crater behind. Rei barely stays on his feet as Kai mocks him, reminding him exactly why he's the Purple King and one of the strongest alive. Rei can't deny it. Raw power isn't on his side. But Kai's trash talk sparks something. Kai says Rei's only cocky because he can juggle a lot of skills. That's when Rei realizes the problem isn't power or skill count, it's potential. Until now, he's only been able to do 2-color synthesis because of mana limits. Rei activates Overclock himself and pushes past his limit. Kai freezes, stunned that Rei can use the same technique. With Overclock running, Rei's mana capacity doubles, and the system unlocks something entirely new. Skill Synthesis Black. Ray.exe has stopped being a doormat and started rewriting the rules. Ray grins as Kai finally looks worried. Ray gathers power and attempts something no one in this world has ever done before. He merges red fireball, blue ice needle, and yellow body enhancement into a single technique. The mana doesn't stabilize into a color. It collapses into a purplish black mass. Kai is speechless. Black mana doesn't exist in this world. Mana comes in blue, red, and yellow, and Ray used to think he couldn't even handle one. Turns out his body can swallow all three at once. Colorless? Nah, that was stealth mode. This is the reveal. Kai panics and fires a demonic lance straight at Ray's head, trying to stop it before it completes. Ray doesn't flinch. He crushes the lance with dark magic and charges forward, forcing Kai onto the defensive for the first time in his life. Cornered, Kai gathers everything he has left into a massive purple lance to intercept the black sphere forming in Ray's hand. Ray doesn't hesitate and releases Abyss Flame. The two attacks collide, and Kai realizes too late that his is losing. The explosion consumes the arena. When the dust settles, Ray is the only one standing. Kai lies motionless on the ground. Ray stares in disbelief. He actually did it. He beat his brother. 10 years of L's, one fight later, and the power balance flips. A system window appears immediately. New skill acquired, Abyss Flame. Just like that, Ray steps into an entirely different league. Hinata rushes in, checks Ray first, and demands to know what kind of attack that was. Ray confirms he's fine and decides there's no point hiding anymore. He shows a glimpse of the black power and explains it's essentially a black skill. Hinata's eyes go wide. He's the only person in the world with that mana. Ray asks if he needs to report it, hoping to keep things quiet, but Hinata tells him that's not the real issue. She explains that the strongest user of each mana color receives the title of King. Since Ray is the only black mage, he could be named Black King immediately. Ray considers it, then declines. His level is still too low, and titles aren't his priority right now. Ray casually asks if his brother is dead. Hinata shrugs and says kings heal fast before telling him she'll take Kai to the medical room. Before they can move, both of their phones buzz with a critical alert. A dangerous dungeon has appeared, with a recommended level of 70. Ray recognizes it instantly, the Ibukuro dungeon. In the original timeline, the kings were only around level 50 and realized they couldn't clear it. The dungeon was abandoned. That mistake led to disaster. When a dungeon isn't cleared in time, it collapses, spilling monsters into the real world. Ray knows what's coming, and this time, he doesn't plan on letting the world burn again. Right now, no one in the world understands what a dungeon collapse really is, or that abandoning a high-level dungeon allows monsters to spill directly into the real world. In the original timeline, the Ibukuro dungeon became the first recorded collapse, and the result was absolute disaster. Tokyo was flooded with high-level monsters, cities burned, and only a handful of people survived what should have never happened. Ray remembers that future clearly, and this time, he refuses to let it repeat. He tells Hinata outright that he will clear the Ibukuro dungeon himself, and her reaction is instant panic. Even with his ridiculous skill set, she says it's impossible. The dungeon's recommended level is far too high, and only A-rank mages or above are even allowed to enter. Ray stays calm and asks the real question. There's still time before the collapse window closes, and the next A-rank evaluation is in 1 week. When Hinata confirms it, Ray decides right there that he'll pass the exam and raise his rank in time. Kronos, I'm inevitable. Ray, hold my colorless mana. Hinata nearly jumps out of her skin hearing that. An A-rank promotion in a week sounds insane, but she admits that with Ray's current abilities, it might actually be possible. Then she drops the real problem. To qualify for the A-rank exam, Ray must first clear a B-rank dungeon with a party, meaning he has 1 week to assemble a team and complete a clear. That's when reality hits. Ray is later slumped on a bench, staring at his phone, muttering that he completely forgot one crucial thing. His messages are filled with rejection and mockery. The rumor that he's colorless has already spread and nobody wants to team up with him. Zero talent, zero trust. They said I had zero talent, joke's on them, zero's the new infinity. As Ray wonders how he's supposed to form a party like this, he overhears a group of girls arguing nearby. 3 of them stand over another girl, and their leader doesn't bother hiding her irritation. She says she only allowed the girl into the party because she's a dual color user, but her firepower is weak and dragging them down. The girl bows her head and apologizes repeatedly. Watching the scene makes Ray sigh as he stands up. He's seen this before. He's lived this before. Dead weight, liability, useless. Then the leader crosses a line and calls the girl trash outright, and Ray's expression hardens. The girl being bullied is Ichina's A, someone Ray recognizes immediately. In the future, she becomes the Scarlet Queen, one of the strongest mages alive. But right now, she's being torn apart by her own party for not being good enough. The contrast is hard to watch. Ichina's voice shakes as she explains that if she's kicked out, she won't be able to pay for her sister's hospital bills. She promises she'll do better next time, begging for another chance. The leader tells her to prove it in today's raid or she's out, and Ichinas quietly agrees, even though it's obvious she's terrified. As they leave, Ray can't stop thinking about it. Something feels off. He remembers that before Ichines rises to power, she suffers a catastrophic injury in a dungeon and falls into a coma for years. The timing clicks. If his memory is right, this is exactly when it happens. Rei doesn't hesitate. He moves immediately, knowing he might be running straight into a boss fight. Meanwhile, Ichines and her party reach the boss room, where a level 45 Dullahan waits. Instead of forming a plan, the party leader smirks and shoves Ichines forward, without warning, telling her to fight it alone. Ichines panics, saying there's no way she can beat a Dullahan by herself. The leader shrugs and says that if she can't do it, she's out of the party. Then she twists the knife, reminding Ichines that she's doing this for her little sister. Ichines lowers her head and accepts, walking forward while the rest of the party watches like it's entertainment. Ichines launches a fireball, but it does nothing. The Dullahan doesn't even flinch. Realizing her attack failed, panic sets in as the monster charges and knocks her aside. It gives her no time to recover and rushes in again, ready to finish her. As she shuts her eyes, Ichines thinks that she really is useless after all. That's when Rei crashes into the fight, activating extreme body enhancement and blocking the killing blow. He counters immediately, sending the Dullahan flying backward with a single strike. Ichines stares in shock as Rei turns and asks if she's okay, while her party can only gape in disbelief. Dullahans are notorious for their weight and defense, yet Rei just launched it across the arena. The monster roars and stands back up, completely unfazed. As expected, its armor is reinforced by a strengthening skill, meaning normal attacks won't pierce it. Rei charges in anyway, slipping past a wide swing and reaching out to activate skill drain. Nothing happens. The skill doesn't trigger. The Dullahan counters, forcing Rei back as Ichines calls out in concern. Rei realizes the issue quickly. The armor isn't the monster's real body, it's just an outer shell. The Dullahan slams its sword into the ground, releasing a massive green shockwave. Rei steps in front of Ichines and throws up a barrier just in time. The impact is so powerful it sends the rest of the party flying, and when the leader finally attacks with an ice needle, it does absolutely nothing. Rei watches carefully. Ice Needle won't work. Normal attacks won't work. He sheathes his sword and decides he needs something stronger than the Dullahan's stolen buffs. He charges up Abyss Flame as the Dullahan attacks again, firing another shockwave straight at him. Rei counters instantly. Abyss Flame rips through the shockwave and engulfs the Dullahan in black mana. The explosion is massive. When the smoke clears, the monster is gone, erased in a single hit. A Mana Stone drops to the floor, and the dungeon falls silent. 10 years of L's, one button press, and suddenly Rei is rewriting fates that were never supposed to change. Ichines stands there completely stunned after watching the Dullahan get erased in a single hit. She rushes over, calling out to Rei and thanking him repeatedly, while Rei calmly tells her he's just glad she's okay. As he looks at the Mana Stone, he realizes everything played out exactly like the original timeline described, except this time, the outcome is completely different, and that alone makes it worth it. The moment doesn't last. The party leader staggers back to her feet, clearly more irritated than relieved. Instead of gratitude, her eyes lock onto the Mana Stone with thinly veiled greed. She starts muttering about how the reward should belong to her party, and outright demands the stone, claiming it dropped in the dungeon they applied for. Ichines protests, saying Rei saved all of them, but Rei cuts in calmly and says he'll hand over the Mana Stone on one condition. He wants to recruit Ichines. The entire room freezes, including Ichines herself. Rei looks at her directly and makes it clear the choice is hers. No pressure. The leader bursts out laughing and immediately agrees, pushing Ichines to accept without hesitation. She clearly doesn't care about Ichines at all. Ichines clenches her fist, swallows her pride, and says she understands, placing herself under Rei's care. The leader snatches the Mana Stone and walks away, muttering that she can't believe someone like Ichines was worth that much. Bat! Rei watches her leave, fully aware that Ichines was never dead weight. Ichines thanks him quietly and asks if he's really sure about this, worrying she'll only slow him down. Rei reaches out his hand and tells her plainly that she'll become stronger than everyone who abandoned her. Ichines is confused by his confidence, wondering what he means, and Rei explains that he overheard what happened at the association earlier. Her mood dips at the memory, but Rei insists he can support her. After a moment of hesitation, she straightens up, smiles nervously, and agrees, saying she'll rely on him from now on. Rei promises the same. The next day, the two stand at a dungeon gate, and Rei casually announces that they're clearing a B-rank dungeon. Ichines asks if that means they can take the A-rank exam afterward, and Rei confirms it, adding there's also a key inside that will make her stronger. When Ichines repeats the word key, she realizes that ranking up could finally let her pay for her sister's medical bills. They enter the dungeon together, a crystal-filled cave shimmering faintly in the dark. Black wolves emerge almost immediately, eyes locked on them. Rei tells Ichinas to leave it to him and activates extreme body enhancement, cutting through the wolves effortlessly. Ichinas watches in awe. Her old party was strong, but Rei is on an entirely different level. As they move deeper, Rei tells her they've reached the right area, and that he'll support her while she fights, just like they planned. The goal is for Ichinas to defeat monsters herself and level quickly. She hesitates, knowing she only has basic attacks, but steps forward anyway as Rei observes closely. Ichinas starts fighting while Rei handles anything that tries to interfere, shutting down ambushes before they can reach her. She takes a hit to her left arm and starts worrying about her mana. The monsters just keep coming, and exhaustion sets in. Then she looks back and sees Rei holding off additional enemies just to give her space. That sight snaps something into place. Ichinas stops complaining and pushes forward, telling herself she has to live up to his trust. As she continues fighting, she realizes something strange. Her mana pool is massive, far larger than she realizes. A system message appears. Ichinas unlocks a new skill, Blast Furnace. At the boss room, a massive level 52 slime waits for them. Rei charges forward and shouts for her to use the new skill. Ichinas activates Blast Furnace hesitantly, and flames surge around her body. She stares in disbelief. This power is hers. Blast Furnace massively boosts firepower at the cost of mana, and with her enormous mana pool, it's a perfect match. She unleashes a devastating attack that slams into the slime boss. Rei watches, stunned. The hit is even stronger than he expected. With this combination, he knows for sure now. Ichinas will become the Scarlet Queen. After the boss falls, Rei praises her, and Ichinas blushes, smiling as she says she never imagined she could do this. As they leave, the camera lingers on the massive crater left behind by her attack. Back at the Mage Association, Ichinas confirms they've met the requirements to enter the A-rank exam. Rei agrees. This is it. He's passing the promotion test no matter what. As they head down the hallway, Ichinas' former party leader steps in front of them, sneering and mocking her for even attempting the exam. Ichinas freezes, unsure how to respond, but Rei steps forward without hesitation and shuts it down immediately, making it clear Ichinas won't lose to people who made her fight alone. The leader scoffs and claims she has better party members anyway. That's when a new presence enters the scene. Janu Yuri, confident, dangerous, and immediately intimidating. She declares that Rei and Ichinas could never beat her. Rei recognizes her instantly. In his previous life, she was famous for soloing high-level dungeons whenever she felt like it. In the present, she analyzes Rei closely and says he looks interesting. Ichinas whispers, confused, asking why Yuri seems to be flirting with him. Then it clicks for Yuri. Kira Asaki Rei, Kai's brother. She's heard rumors that the Purple King was defeated, and asks if Rei was the one responsible. Ichinas is shocked. Yuri smirks, turns away, and says that even so, Rei still wouldn't be able to beat her. As she walks off, Rei watches her with a grin. The A-rank exam is about to get a lot more interesting, and Rei is already looking forward to what comes next. At the training grounds, the examiner explains that combat ability will be tested using an artificial golem, specifically designed to be tougher than a normal stone golem, because apparently this exam hates mercy. Rei is called up first. The golem draws its blade, and Rei calmly steps forward as whispers spread through the crowd, calling him an idiot for charging fire magic against a golem. Rei ignores them completely. He darts forward, slips past the golem's swing, activates synthesis, and forms a fire lance mid-motion. In one clean thrust, he drives it straight through the golem's body. The construct collapses instantly, smoke rising from the wreckage while the examiner and spectators stare in stunned silence. One hit. Murmurs erupt as people realize he didn't just destroy the golem, he used a dual-color attack. Even the dangerous-looking woman watching from the sidelines mutters a quiet, "not bad," without taking her eyes off him. Rei.exe continues casually breaking expectations. Next up is Ichinas. She's instructed to place her hands on a crystal to measure mana capacity. Her former party leader glares openly, saying she should be ashamed for even trying. Ichinas takes a breath and touches the crystal. Instantly, a massive surge of fire erupts around her, forcing everyone nearby to step back. The entire room freezes. People whisper, asking who she even is. Her former leader panics and insists Ichinas must be cheating, but the readings don't lie. The test moves on, and it's time for mock battles. The first match is Ichinas versus her former leader Asayama. Ichinas steadies herself while Asayama is visibly furious. The signal sounds, and Asayama immediately fires 3 ice needles. Ichinas responds with a single massive fireball that swallows the attack whole and detonates violently, forcing Asayama backward in shock. Without giving her time to recover, Ichinas charges another fireball. Asayama throws up a mana barrier, mocking her for relying on such a simple attack, but the fire doesn't stop. One fireball after another slams into the barrier. Fueled by Ichinas' massive mana pool, the shield cracks, shatters, and Asayama scrambles away. A chunk of stone blasted loose by the explosion arcs through the air and bonks Asayama square on the head, knocking her out cold in the least dignified way possible. The examiner declares Ichinos the winner. Rei congratulates her and she thanks him, wishing him luck as he steps into his own match. Rei locks eyes with Yuri, already waiting in the arena. Of course they're matched. What a coincidence. Both of them are smiling. Yuri asks why Rei is taking the exam at all, saying he looks far more prepared than everyone else here. Rei keeps it vague. He has something he needs to do, and he can't stop now. Yuri warns him that she's strong. Rei agrees and says he'll still win. That answer makes her grin wider. The fight begins immediately, summoning a storm of mana swords that fill the arena and fire toward Rei all at once. He dodges and blocks, shocked at how rare and broken the skill is, letting her manipulate raw mana freely. Before he can breathe, a massive blade drops from above, forcing him to leap aside at the last second. Yuri praises the dodge as Rei rushes in to counter. She shuts him down with another barrage, forcing Rei to throw up a mana barrier and barely avoid getting sliced apart. Yuri leaps into the air, and Rei seizes the moment to fire a dual-color fire lance. She blocks it with mana conversion, barely holding it back. Ichinos cheers from the sidelines as Yuri powers up again, launching multiple mana spears and asking Rei how he plans to deal with that. Rei dodges, closes distance, and admits it's getting troublesome. Yuri smirks and calls checkmate, surrounding him with spears from every direction. At the last second, Rei activates body enhancement and shreds the spears apart. Yuri freezes, then grins like she just found her favorite fight ever. She says she can use body enhancement too, and summons a mana scythe, settling the fight up close. They clash in a blur of speed and steel. Yuri drives Rei back with overwhelming pressure, nearly cornering him. Her power is ridiculous, and Rei knows he can't win playing fair. He dives low, grabs her arm, and she scoffs, saying that catching her hand won't change anything. Then she feels it. Skill drain activates, her extreme body enhancement vanishes. Yuri's strength drops instantly, her eyes widening as Rei plants a flat palm into her stomach and releases the strike. The impact ripples through her body. She coughs, staggers, mutters about him hiding a gem like that, and collapses. Rei is declared the winner. The next day, in a hospital room, Yuri wakes up to Rei and Ichinos visiting. She admits she never expected him to be that strong and asks what he wants, assuming he didn't come just to flex his promotion. Rei skips all ceremony and asks if she wants to join their party. Yuri stares at him, stunned. They explain she's been promoted to A rank 2 based on the match and that they need her strength for high difficulty dungeons. Yuri bursts out laughing, tears forming as she calls Rei genuinely interesting. She agrees to join, saying following him sounds way more fun. Then the room begins to shake. Ichinos wonders if it's an earthquake, but Rei looks out the window and sees the sky glowing red. This is worse. Somewhere far away, in a dim cell, the god Kronos hangs in chains. Time hasn't forgiven him. And now, it's almost ready to move again. Once the shaking finally stops, Rei remembers something critical from his past life. Earthquakes like this happened repeatedly right before the Ikebukuro dungeon collapsed. That realization hits hard. The tremors aren't random, they're a warning. The dungeon is already approaching its time limit, and if they wait any longer, history will repeat itself in the worst way possible. Even knowing how dangerous the dungeon is, Rei understands they don't have the luxury of choice anymore. He explains his plan to conquer Ikebukuro to Ichinos and Yuri, and both of them immediately panic. This dungeon is considered the most difficult in the entire region, and attempting it with just 3 people sounds borderline suicidal. Yuri asks the obvious question, whether Rei is suggesting they rush the dungeon because of the earthquake. Rei admits he has a terrible feeling about it. He's seen reports of abnormal monsters appearing earlier than they should, and he believes these signs are prerequisites to something far worse. Kronos sweating like he just got ratioed by a porter might not be far off. Yuri shrugs it off in her usual way, saying she doesn't care as long as she's following Rei's lead. Ichinos quickly agrees, promising her support as well. Hearing that, Rei genuinely thanks them. For the first time, he isn't facing the future alone. The next day, the trio submits a formal request to conquer the Ikebukuro dungeon. Hinata approves it, and they head straight to the entrance. Yuri is visibly excited, almost too excited, treating the situation like the ultimate thrill ride. Ichinos mentions it would feel safer with more people, but Rei explains that the association can only deploy a limited number of A-rank mages. Rei briefly mentions that it would have been reassuring if someone like Okawa were with them. Before the regression, Okawa was one of the strongest mages in Japan, but Rei's real fear is something else entirely. If the dungeon collapses, Kronos could appear again, and Rei is determined to make sure that never happens. Before entering, the girls stop Rei and tell him to drop the formalities. They want him to call them by their normal names. Rei agrees, and without wasting another second, the 3 of them step into the dungeon together. Right at the entrance, they're greeted by a level 71 skull demon. Rei freezes for a moment. In other dungeons, this thing is a boss. Here, it's basically a warm-up mob. Without hesitation, the trio charges forward as the Skull Demon immediately throws up a mana barrier. Rei realizes the priority instantly. The barrier has to go first. He fires a fire lance at it, but the attack barely makes a dent. The dungeon isn't playing fair anymore. Ichinas and Yuri immediately follow up with their own attacks, and the combined pressure finally cracks the barrier enough for Rei to rush in and slice the Skull Demon down. The monster drops a large green mana stone, and Rei praises the girls for their timing. As they move forward, Yuri finally asks the question she's been holding back. How is Rei able to use so many skills without burning out? Rei pauses, then decides there's no point hiding it anymore. He tells them about skill drain, explaining that by touching someone, he can steal their skills. Everything clicks for Yuri, especially their duel. Rei reassures her that he already returned her stolen ability. Ichinas, meanwhile, is completely blown away. An ability like that is straight up unfair. Finally, she understands why Rei was confident about tackling this dungeon. As long as he's here, they might actually survive. She silently resolves not to become a burden, no matter what it takes. They continue deeper, and the rumbling grows stronger with every step. When they reach the boss room, the ground shakes violently beneath them. Ichina's voices the fear everyone is thinking. Do they really have what it takes to face what's waiting? Rei calmly points out that they've all gained levels just getting here. With that growth, he believes they can pull it off. Ichina's agrees and steels herself, determined to prove she belongs on this team. That's when everything goes wrong. Something massive grabs Ichina's from behind before anyone can react. The three of them turn around and come face to face with a nightmare. A level 89 Grim Reaper, the dungeon boss. And it's not supposed to be here. Rei's blood runs cold. The boss shouldn't have left its room. That alone means the dungeon is already breaking down. There's no time to think about why. They're in deep trouble. Rei shouts for Ichina's, asking if she's okay. She manages to respond, explaining she cast a mana barrier just in time to avoid being crushed. But Rei knows better than to relax. Even with her massive mana pool, barriers don't last forever. Using Abyss Flame is the obvious solution, but Rei can't risk it. Ichinas would be caught in the blast. The only option left is to save her the hard way. Rei tells Yuri to find a way to free Ichinas while he draws the boss's attention. With no time to argue, they move. Rei places himself directly in front of the Grim Reaper and narrowly dodges a tentacle strike that shatters the floor behind him. One direct hit, and he's done. Just as Rei thinks he's clear, another tentacle lashes out from behind. Ichinas screams his name, convinced he's finished, but Rei activates Mana Hand at the last second, yanking himself free and barely escaping death. Rei.exe refuses to crash today. While chaos erupts, Yuri reaches the boss and swings her scythe, aiming for a decisive blow. The attack bounces off harmlessly. That's when they realize the worst part. The Grim Reaper is protected by a strengthening skill. The dungeon isn't just collapsing, it's actively trying to kill them. Yuri is forced to retreat before she gets crushed by the monster's massive tentacles, barely slipping out of range. Rei immediately checks on her, and she waves it off saying she's fine. But both of them can tell something is deeply wrong with this fight. Tentacle-type monsters are supposed to have low defense, yet this one is running a strengthening skill, which makes no sense at all. On top of that, the boss is fighting outside its designated room, something that should be impossible under normal dungeon rules. Rei doesn't have time to connect the dots yet, but unknown to him, Kronos is directly interfering with the dungeon's behavior. Right now, all that matters is that the Grim Reaper is attacking with non-stop rage, giving them no room to think. Trapped inside her protective barrier, Ichina starts blaming herself. She realizes she's been too passive, always relying on Rei to fix everything. Watching the other two struggle, she desperately searches for something, anything she can do to help instead of being protected again. The situation gets worse when Rei and Yuri start running dangerously low on mana after fighting non-stop since entering the dungeon. Rei feels the pressure closing in, and for the first time, defeat starts creeping into his thoughts. Then something clicks. He suddenly shouts at Ichina's to use her mana fusion. Both Ichina's and Yuri freeze. Mana fusion is infamous for being inefficient and mana hungry, a skill considered borderline useless in Rei's previous life. But Rei remembers the truth. The skill's real value was only discovered years later, and ironically, the person who figured it out back then was Ichina's herself. Ichina's hesitates. She's barely used the skill before, and it drains mana aggressively. But Rei wouldn't tell her to do it without a reason. Trusting him, she activates mana fusion, sending the energy wave toward both Rei and Yuri just as planned. Almost immediately, Yuri notices something strange. Her mana is recovering instead of draining. Rei smiles because he knows exactly what's happening. Mana fusion doesn't just boost output, it redistributes mana, sharing it across allies. The catch is that only someone with an absurdly large mana pool can use it effectively. Ichina's lights up for a split second, excited that it's working, then realizes the problem. The amount she's sharing isn't enough. The mana barrier she activated earlier is restricting the flow. Understanding what she has to do, she releases the barrier entirely. The moment the shield drops, the monster grabs her tightly, but Ichinas doesn't panic. She pours everything she has into mana fusion, fully restoring Rei and Yuri's mana reserves. Weak but determined, she tells them the rest is up to them. That sacrifice flips a switch in both Rei and Yuri. With their mana restored, they charge the monster with everything they've got, tearing through its defenses using enhancement skills and raw aggression. Rei urges Yuri to keep pressing forward so they can reach Ichinas before it's too late. Rei almost gets to her, but the Grim Reaper shifts positions, pulling Ichinas farther away and making rescue even harder. Rei realizes that, at this rate, brute force won't be enough. Yuri steps in and tells him she'll open a path. She channels her mana conversion and releases a massive wave of aura, forming solid steps of mana in mid-air. Rei doesn't hesitate. He sprints up the makeshift staircase, thanking her as he goes. The monster lashes out with tentacles to block him, but Rei cuts straight through them, fueled by sheer fury. In a burst of speed, Rei reaches Ichinas and slices her free from the monster's grasp. He lands safely and checks on her, and she opens her eyes with a weak smile, telling him he's just as impressive as ever. Yuri rushes over, admitting that Ichinas saved both of them, and for the first time, openly acknowledges her strength. There's no time to celebrate. The Grim Reaper regenerates its tentacles almost instantly, and the fight resets itself. Yuri asks Rei what the next move is, knowing they can't win a drawn-out battle like this. Rei tells her to leave the rest to him. Even though she's skeptical, she trusts him. Rei starts sprinting toward the monster, and Yuri realizes something terrifying. He's charging in without a weapon. As Rei approaches the monster's core, a tentacle regenerates and swings to block him. Rei activates Overclock, doubling his output one last time. Dark aura engulfs his body as he unleashes Abyss Flame at point-blank range, tearing straight through the monster's head. The Grim Reaper collapses, defeated. Somewhere far beyond the dungeon, Kronos is visibly shaken. He never expected the boss to fall, but even now he refuses to let Rei and his allies escape alive. As the team catches their breath, dark fluid suddenly spills from the monster's corpse and lunges toward Ichinas like a living weapon. Rei barely manages to pull her out of the way in time. The fluid grows more aggressive, more powerful, forcing Rei to shout for everyone to run. They sprint toward the exit, Rei praying they at least stop the dungeon collapse. Just before they reach safety, the dark mass surges forward, about to swallow all three of them. A golden shield slams down between them in the darkness. A calm, stern voice tells them to step aside. They turn and see their savior, Owawa Hikaru, one of the strongest mages in Japan. The girls are stunned as he introduces himself, and Rei exhales, admitting this is exactly the man he wished was here. The timing couldn't have been better. Okawa's presence immediately explains why the team survived. He is an S-rank mage, far above everyone else in the dungeon, and before Rei's regression, he was known as the Yellow King. Rei knows the truth plainly. Without Okawa's barrier magic arriving at that exact moment, they would have been wiped out. No debate, no second chances. Okawa casually winks at them and jokes that he barely made it in time, as if shielding 3 people from a collapsing dungeon wasn't a near catastrophe. He explains that he was originally deployed to another dungeon on a national request, but Hinata personally contacted him and redirected him here at the last second. Then Okawa drops another surprise. He already knows who Rei is, Kai's brother. Rei tenses instantly, but Okawa waves it off, saying he has no hostile intentions and was simply curious. That alone eases Rei's nerves, and he finally thanks Okawa properly for saving them. Okawa shrugs it off and instead praises Rei, saying that defeating the dungeon boss at their level is genuinely impressive. When the massive mana stone drops from the defeated boss, even Okawa freezes for a moment at its size. He immediately realizes just how strong that monster must have been, and tosses the stone to Rei. With that, Okawa exits the dungeon, and the team follows. Back at the Mage Association, Hinata nearly screams when she sees them walk in alive. She's been panicking the entire time, convinced something went wrong because they were inside far longer than expected. She scolds Rei for diving straight into the dungeon after submitting the request, especially one as dangerous as Ikebukuro. When she asks about their progress, she clearly expects them to still be stuck near the entrance. The reaction is immediate chaos. Hinata and the staff lose it completely, shouting in disbelief as the news spreads like wildfire. Ikebukuro dungeon, conquered. Guild scramble, phones explode, and everyone wants to know who pulled it off. During press coverage, Ichinas announces that she finally has enough money to cover her sister's medical bills, and openly thanks Rei for giving her the opportunity. Her former party, especially Asayama, is visibly furious, still clinging to the belief that Ichinas must have cheated somehow. Kai is no better. Hearing that Rei conquered the dungeon sends him into a rage. Group chats everywhere blow up, people calling each other out for trash-talking Rei when he was still known as colorless. Apology speedruns begin immediately. While the world argues and celebrates, Rei stays focused on one thing. He knows the dungeon was cleared because of teamwork. If he wants to face what's coming next, he needs to get even stronger. 3 days later, Hinata summons Rei in and the girls back to the association. She tells them they've received a formal request to conquer another dungeon. Ichinas is stunned. They just became A rank and already they're being personally requested. Hinata explains that this kind of offer is only extended to mages who've proven themselves. Ichinas smiles and says everyone is counting on Rei, but Rei corrects her immediately. This isn't a solo act. The entire party is needed. When Rei asks who made the request, Hinata refuses to say, explaining that higher-ups ordered her to keep it classified. Yuri, of course, wants to accept immediately because it sounds fun. Rei agrees to take the mission since it's official association business, meaning it shouldn't be suspicious. That's when Hinata adds one final detail. An S-rank mage will be accompanying them. The next day, they arrive at the meeting location, and to no one's surprise except Ichinas's, the escort turns out to be Okawa. Rei admits he didn't expect Okawa to be the one joining them, and Okawa laughs, saying he wanted to keep it a surprise. As they enter the dungeon, Okawa casually mentions that the entire world is watching this mission. Ichinas is stunned by how relaxed he sounds, while Rei reminds her that no matter how goofy he acts, he's still an S-rank monster in human form. Rei asks about reports of a tricky dungeon mechanism, and Okawa confirms it. A scout team reported a massive wall of fire blocking the path. When Rei asks how they'll deal with it, Okawa casually replies that his barrier makes it irrelevant, sounding almost bored. Rei notices the confidence and wonders if Okawa thinks this dungeon will be easy. As if reading his thoughts, Okawa smirks and says Rei will see how impressive he really is, because he'll be carrying the whole team. That confidence lasts exactly until a wave of monsters floods the area. Rei tells everyone to get ready, curious to finally see an S-rank mage in full action. Then he notices Okawa sitting off to the side, fear plastered across his face. Okawa admits he's not familiar with these monster types and tells them to handle it. Ichinas immediately calls him out on his earlier bravado, but Rei cuts in and tells the team to focus. Whether Okawa carries them or not doesn't matter. The trio takes formation and opens fire with long-range attacks. Yuri charges forward confidently, laughing as she says, "These monsters are nothing compared to what they've already survived." The next fight begins, and the gap between hype and reality is about to get exposed. Ichinas and Yuri tear through most of the incoming monsters with clean coordination, and Rei finishes the survivors with a precise fire lance. Okakawa watches the cleanup in stunned silence. This wasn't luck, panic, or desperation. It was clean execution. Ichinas jumps with excitement, celebrating the win, while Okawa finally stands up from his hiding spot, casually admitting he hates bugs and thanking them for saving his life like that was a perfectly reasonable outcome. That calm lasts about 3 seconds. Wolves burst out from behind and charge straight at Okawa. This time, he doesn't hesitate. He snaps his barrier magic into place, trapping them inside a perfect square construct and crushing them instantly. Rei and the others stare, stunned. Rei asks what kind of skill that was, and Okawa casually explains it's called square box, one of his barrier techniques, though it doesn't work on large enemies. Rei is blown away. He's heard of that skill before, but seeing it in action makes something click. As they move forward, Rei can't help but admire Okawa. This is what an S-rank mage looks like in motion, calm, controlled, and absurdly powerful without needing to flex. They soon reach the wall of fire mentioned in the scout report. The heat alone is intense enough to feel dangerous from a distance. Without hesitation, Okawa steps forward and parts the flames using barrier magic, creating a safe path through what should have been an impassable obstacle. The team walks through, energized, and soon reaches another opening leading straight into the boss chamber. Rei suggests they move in, unaware that Okawa is watching closely, trying to decide whether Rei is a prodigy or just riding momentum. Inside, the heat spikes instantly. Rei complains under his breath, already sensing how dangerous the enemy is before it even appears. The boss emerges, a level 68 flame gar. Its presence alone sends chills down Rei's spine. Instinct kicks in and Rei orders a mana barrier, but Okawa stops him, saying it's unnecessary. The monster unleashes a massive flame breath, and Okawa blocks it effortlessly, like swatting away smoke. Rei's mind reels. Defense at this level is absurd. Okawa assigns roles on the spot. He'll handle defense. They handle offense. Rei nods, but his mind is racing. Abyss Flame would burn too much mana, and the boss is too fast for a single decisive blast. If this drags out, they lose. That means the monster has to go down fast. Rei leads the charge, telling Yuri and Ichinas to find an opening. He activates body enhancement and rushes in, feinting a frontal attack before slipping behind the monster and landing a clean hit. Yuri and Ichinas follow up with long-range support, but the Flamegar stays mobile, confirming Rei's fear. This thing is durable, fast, and dangerous. Heat pours off the monster as the fight drags on, sweat running down Rei's face. He knows they're on a timer. Okawa watches silently from behind, waiting to see what Rei does when pressure peaks. Then Rei changes tactics. He tells Yuri and Ichinas to stop targeting the body and aim for the feet. They adjust instantly. Ichinas even adds Stone Bullet into the mix, forcing the monster to leap to avoid losing mobility. Rei sees the opening. In the air, there's no room to dodge. He leaps after it, coating his blade in ice mid-flight, a move that makes even Okawa raise an eyebrow. The strike lands clean. The monster crashes into the ground and doesn't get back up. The fight is over. Ichina's and Yuri rush to Rei, congratulating him, but he immediately credits them instead. Okawa nods, clearly impressed. The reports weren't exaggerating. Still, he can tell Rei is holding something back. Rei suggests returning to the association to file their report, but Okawa stops him. Instead, he summons Squarebox again and says he wants to test Rei. The skill can trap monsters, but it can also be used for training. Okawa is honest. He wants to see Rei's real power. He promises to intervene if things get dangerous, but only if Rei asks. Rei understands now why Okawa came along. Whatever his motives are, this is an opportunity Rei can't ignore. Experience like this doesn't come often. He accepts. Okawa releases the seal. A black shadow spills out of the box, shifting unnaturally. Okawa explains that this monster takes form based on the fear of whoever faces it. He watches eagerly, curious what shape it will take. Rei already knows. The shadow settles. A familiar presence fills the space. Kronos emerges. Okawa is stunned. This is the first time he's ever seen a monster like this. He's fascinated. Rei, on the other hand, feels his blood turn cold. His greatest fear has followed him here. And that's where this part ends. If you enjoyed the video, comment next part below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss what comes next. Thanks for watching.